Welcome everyone to the Thunder Buddies podcast, your source for all things Thunder basketball, courtesy of the Oklahoman. My name is Justin Martinez, and today I'm joined once again by our columnist Joe Mussatto. Joe, how you doing today, man?
I'm good, Justin. I'm probably more well rested than you are. What cities in California have you not been to lately? Or Oregon, I guess now you're all over the place.
Yeah, it's been a lot. I was tweeting about this a little bit, keeping some people informed about it, but I just been having a lot of flight issues. After the LA one, I had to reroute my flight. It was supposed to be connecting the Phoenix and then going to Portland. That one had to get rerouted due to maintenance on the plane. And then this morning, flying from Portland to Sacramento, also had to get rerouted because there was too much fog in Sacramento, apparently. They said the visibility was zero. So
Hmm,
they were like, yeah, I'm glad they
that's
didn't
not
try it.
comforting.
Yeah, not at all. So,
And you
yeah,
changed
so
your name to Juan somewhere in the process, is
oh
what I
yeah, and
saw.
that happened too. Yeah, my credentials on the Clippers game got changed to Juan Martinez, which Steve is now calling me, so that's fantastic. But we're here. We're here in Sacramento for third game of the road trip for OKC 3 or 4. OKC is now 8-1 on the season. They started the road trip with a 126 to 107 road win over the LA Clippers, improving to 8-0, and that set a franchise record for its best start to a season. And then last night they did fall short in a 121 to 119 loss to the Portland Trailblazers. Joe, I just figured today we can go ahead and just talk about. It's been a topic of discussion. Just is this OKC team better? Obviously, they are shorthanded, but do they have the blueprint to be better than last year's squad, which obviously won a championship? And then also, where is some room for improvement? Because as they talk about all the time, that is the common theme, always trying to improve. So if that sounds good to you, we can go ahead and jump right into it.
Yeah, where do you want to start, Justin?
I guess starting off with like the actual player development before maybe looking big picture at the team. Are there any guys that you've seen who have really started to make some strides individually?
I mean, AJ Mitchell keeps balling out, and I mean, even it was kind of striking watching that Portland game last night because Shea was clearly gassed, and the Thunder was just running ISO through AJ Mitchell for, key stretches in clutch time. And it's like, what am I even watching? And I don't mean that as a negative thing about AJ Mitchell, but just what they have kind of entrusted him with J Dub out, to be a primary guy, and not just you know, a a playmaker, but a, play creator for himself to sort of kind of use his finesse around the rim, his strength, his finishing ability. He's been his individual improvement has obviously stood out more than anyone else's on this team, and I think there's other guys we could get to, but have to start with AJ.
Yeah, I agree because there's guys obviously going into the season. We talked a lot about Chet Holmgren. That was kind of like everyone was expecting a jump from him. But I mean, AJ Mitchell's a guy who he showed flashes of it before he had his injury last season, and just really has ran with the opportunity this year. You've seen what he's done, obviously running that second unit. But like you mentioned last night, I thought it was a good example to show just how he is able to play alongside another top option like Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. Like you mentioned, he was going in isolation against like Tamani Kamara, like an all
Yeah.
defensive second team forward. That's a lot of trust that they're placing in AJ, and he was able to deliver on multiple occasions. In that game, he had 21 points, 4 boards, and 3 assists in his first start of the season, second of his career. Obviously, OKC was shorthanded, so he got the start. And yeah, it just seems like whether he's with that second unit, whether he's running the first unit, closing games, not closing games, he just seems to be very adaptable to just whatever this team needs.
I think when we look back at the beginning of the season, obviously it stinks that Dub is out, but I'm not sure we see this version of AJ Mitchell in the way we're seeing it right now, where he does have so much responsibility. And, so much of the Thunder's process is experimenting and like playing guys, big minutes in unexpected situations. Now their hands almost been forced with Mitchell, and I think he'd be getting big minutes anyway. But to see him is we talked a lot about what's it going to look, what's Dub going to look like next to another ball handler in AJ. Well, instead, we're seeing what AJ looks like as maybe the primary offensive threat on the floor. And, if Dub's out there, I'm not sure we really see that happening. And, same goes for Aaron Wiggins, who continues to spread his wings offensively as well. He's not going to have the ball in his hands as much as Mitchell is. He's more of a play finisher, but made some huge threes last night, was running the floor in transition. I just think, he's not like a finalized, version of himself either at this point. We saw a huge step in scoring last year from Aaron Wiggins, and he's even up to that so far this year.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect transition because that's what I was going to bring up next. Is another one of those guys who's really taking advantage of those opportunities. He's made some more starts now this season. Has really looked comfortable in that role. He always seems to be comfortable when it comes to scoring. Last night was definitely no different. But he's also improved as a playmaker. He's had a couple nice plays in that two-man game with like Isaiah Hartenstein. Have had a couple lobs, a couple nice passes down low to him. The defense is a big thing that obviously he's a bit of like an in-betweener. Sometimes he's asked to guard the four. He has been able to have an impact. Last night had 3 steals. There's another game where he had a block. Like he's able to at least hold his own in that department. Obviously on a team filled with other really good defenders. And then yeah, like I said, offensively, it seems like whenever he's asked to put the ball through the hoop, he's always ready to do that. 7 for 10 shooting from deep last season or last night for him. So yeah, he's another one of those guys who Mark had talked about it the other day. He calls them system monsters. He says that Aaron Wiggins is one of those guys. Isaiah Joe is one of those guys. Jay Will as well. Just guys who are able to do whatever is needed within that system on any given night.
I'd like to be a system monster. What one thing that stands out about Wiggins to me, and we're dealing in small samples, but it's the only sample we have to deal in. So why not have some fun with it? Last season he attempted 4.5 threes per game. That was up from 1.6 the year prior. His career high to that point was his rookie year, 2.8 on a tanking team. So 4.5 threes per game last year. He's at 6.7 this year. Obviously, that went up a lot after last night, but I just love hunting that shot for him. He's not like the movement shooter that Isaiah Joe is, but man, he's a reliable knockdown shooter so far. I mean, shooting 42% from three on almost 7 attempts per game. That's just like something I never thought we'd see from Aaron Wiggins.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of, I think one thing that we did kind of see coming was Shai Gilgeous-Alexander obviously going to continue to play at a high level, but I think even then we've seen like some, marginal improvements in his game as well. I think he's just getting even better at finding his spots. He's shooting, what is it here? A career high true shooting percentage, 63.8%. Also shooting a career high 57.2% from inside the arc. We saw it last night, second night of a back to back. Got off to a bit of a slow start. He didn't score or didn't make a shot in that first quarter. And the way he got going was just by getting to his spot, which is along that baseline. To start the second quarter, he had a couple of buckets there, and then I ended up finishing the night with, I believe, what was it, 31? I don't have the exact number here, but another strong performance out of him offensively. And I think it just does start with, getting to those spots, getting to the free throw line, which he is doing at a higher rate this season, 9.9 free throw attempts per game compared to 8.8 last season. Just those little things to just make him even more dangerous. Obviously, you're not going to see a big jump from him anymore after winning MVP scoring title, but we are still seeing the continued growth of the guy who's only 27 years old at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean his numbers look very similar. I mean to his MVP season last year. I mean field goal percentage 52% this year and last year. He's shooting 2 percentage points lower from three. Free throw percent, he's at 89%, which is what he was at last year. Um, is averaging 5.4 rebounds, which is slightly up. His assists are about the same. Um, Steals are way down, but I mean, that could be small sample. Also, last year was an outlier in that, but he's always going to be good in the stocks category. So, yeah, it's kind of same old from Shea, which we get numb to it, but it's still outstanding.
Yeah. Also, I shortchanged him. I said 31 last night. It was 35. He's now had, okay, I'm going to shortchange him again. I believe it's 81 straight. It is 81 straight games of 20 plus points in the regular season. which is third all time in the NBA, only behind Wilt Chamberlain, who's done it twice. Had two longer streaks than that. I think another guy who stands out to me is making strides is Cason Wallace. Just continues to get better at getting into the passing lane. He's leading the league in steals per game right now at 2.8. We've seen the All State hands celebration. I guess is gaining some momentum. What do you think about that celebration, Joe?
I like it. Guys are clearly having fun with it. You drew my attention to it. I hadn't really noticed, but then I was watching for it last night and I saw it. It seems like Caruso, especially on the bench, is getting a big kick out of it.
Yeah, apparently they were doing a little bit of it last season too. I know at media day there's a photo of I think it's Kaysen, Caruso, J Dub, and someone else. I think maybe Lou Dort. And they're all doing like that in a photo. So it's been a thing they're trying to get going. They're still working on a nickname. We've heard maybe like Wall State is a pretty good idea. That's I think that's a good one. Our guy Brandon came up with that one. But yeah, he's just another one of those guys who, it's Mark had talked about it where you look at obviously the main big three, they get a lot of the attention, but Cason Wallace is a guy who came into the league, hit the ground running, and is continuing to improve. And I think defensively, especially getting into those passing lanes, that's where you see his impact a lot. But who's somebody else who you think is maybe starting to make some strides?
Um, let's see here. I mean, Wallace is definitely a good one. What little we've seen of Chet, I have been encouraged. I just don't know. I had my All NBA prediction. I think that's just going to come down to games played. If he gets there, he's probably going to be on one of the All NBA teams. Um, you know, Isaiah Joe, he wasn't great from three last night. I think 3 of 10, but he's been such a breath of fresh air for a team that has struggled to shoot the ball. So he's picking up right where he left off. I think I haven't seen improvement necessarily, but Isaiah Hartenstein is a guy that we just like don't talk about a ton, but he is just so steady every single night, basically good for 10 and 10 with a handful of assists, always making the right play. Had the highlight last night. You mentioned it. Aaron Wiggins throws the lefty lob to Hartenstein, who finishes it with one hand. And he's just a really good player. Like he's not the most exciting guy. He still can't make a three. Gosh, he's never going to make one. But other than that, Justin, I I don't have like great analysis of why he's better, if he's better at all, but he's just so steady, and I feel like he deserves a mention.
Yeah, I think maybe just even more comfortable in his role. Also obviously an extra year of experience playing alongside Chet that takes some adjusting, working alongside another 7 footer like that. So yeah, I definitely think he deserves a lot of credit because I mean, there's been so many injuries on this team. He's been one of the sources of consistency. Him and Shea, the only starters who have started every single game. And yeah, I mean, just like you said, he's gonna rebound, he's gonna play make. He's gonna have that efficient scoring around the rim. So definitely another guy who deserves some credit. But where do you see some room for improvement just for the team as a whole? What are maybe some areas where you feel like they could continue to get better?
The one area I thought it would be impossible to get better is just what they did defensively last year. And again, we're dealing in small samples. I we There was a historic defense basically last year, but it blows my mind that with Chet missing half the games, with J-Dub being out, this team is number one in defensive rating, um, and they're even better than last year. I mean, they were at 106.6 points allowed per 100 possessions last year. They're at 105.6 this year. That's 4 points better per 100 possessions than the second best defense, which is Victor Wembanyama and the Spurs. So it makes no sense given the personnel that they've had out. It also makes perfect sense when you see the guard rotation and Hartenstein's still in there. Again, I don't think it is going to continue. I don't think this defense can match what it did last year because that's a lot of intensity to keep up over 82 games. Um, but how bought in they are on that end after winning a championship where like if you had some, letdown or, one game where they kind of mail it in defensively, you probably give them a pass, but we just haven't seen that so far.
Yeah, I mean, really, the only time where you saw the defense start to slip was in that fourth quarter of this last game. But
Yeah.
you can kind of, give him a pass there because obviously, second night of a back to back, it was a tough turnaround. Portland ended up scoring 40 points in order to complete that comeback. But other than that, yeah, like you said, this is a team that um, just continues to not take its foot off the gas, and obviously, they pride themselves on their defense. On their defense, on the other side of the ball, obviously the big room for improvement is 3 point shooting. But I do feel like they are starting to trend in the right direction. A big part of it is someone you mentioned earlier, Isaiah Joe, him coming in, adding another floor spacer, adding someone with some gravity. I think has really helped them out. Actually, looking at OKC's first 5 games when Joe was sidelined due to a knee contusion, OKC was shooting 28.8% from deep, ranked 29th in the league. And in the 4 games with Isaiah Joe, they're now shooting 39.9%, which is eighth in the NBA. Obviously, not entirely because of him, but as they start to add some shooters, you're definitely going to see that percentage continue to go up. Eventually, J Dub will come back. He's another guy who can shoot the three ball. Kenrich Williams as well. So it's definitely room for improvement, but I think it is they are starting to make improvement in that department.
Yeah, and you mentioned the splits with and without Joe. It all averages out to they're 20th in the league now in 3-point percentage, which obviously isn't great, but I mean, we were talking about them at the bottom just a few games ago. So you can make up a lot of ground in these areas, in the first couple weeks of the season. For context, the Rockets leading the NBA 42.7% from three, which could have given me a lot of guesses as to who would be leading at this point right now. And given the Rockets personnel, I would not have guessed them. Um, and then the poor Indiana Pacers, who we know so well, they're shooting 30.9% from three, which is dead last. But yeah, I'm not worried about the Thunder's 3-point shooting. I really only worry about it in the postseason because just the shot quality goes down. You've got guys who I think like the playoffs are just a different animal. Like some guys shy away from it, or we don't see guys as effective. So not really going to judge that until the playoffs. The offense as a whole has been fine though. Let's see where they rank in offensive rating. The Thunder is sixth. You'll take that. Houston's one, Philly's two, Denver three, New York, LA, Lakers, and then the Thunder sixth. So first in defense, sixth in offense. That's a pretty good formula.
Yeah. And then also even just looking individually at some of the guys who have been playing, like you see room for growth in a guy like Jay Will shooting 26.8%. He's been a good floor spacer throughout his short career. Lou Dort shooting 19.4%. Obviously, that's something that, we're expecting to see go up. I mean, he's been a 40% shooter for the past few seasons. So definitely not something to overreact to. And we are also nitpicking as well on a team that's 8-1 on the season, reigning champs, trying to find ways for them to improve. I think another thing, if you are nitpicking, would be the pace of play for OKC last
Hmm.
season. Fifth in the NBA in pace, 100.9. This season, 22nd at 99.7. They have played some slower teams, which have managed to dictate the pace more. Houston ranks 28th. The Clippers rank 29. New Orleans ranks 24th. So that has played a factor in it. Also, just they face some bigger teams. Dallas, an oversized lineup. We mentioned Houston tends to be slower teams as well. So that is something to note. As they continue to pick up the pace, just leads to easier points, and you're not facing like a set defense. So definitely another area where I think they could and should continue to improve.
Yeah, that was one that I had written down as well. And this is not an original thought. Heck, maybe you've said or written the same thing, but maybe another thing that explains that pace number is just the double overtime games they were in at the beginning where it's just tired legs. So naturally you're not going to play as fast and, back-to-back double overtimes. And that accounts for 10 minutes by themselves right there. So that could be factoring into the small sample as well. But ideally, this is a team I still think they want to play fast, and having Dub back in the lineup is naturally going to, I think, lead to more transition opportunities as well.
Yeah, for sure. Is there anywhere else where you feel like there is room for improvement? Those are really the only ones that I had down in terms of the team aspect of things.
No, if they improve too much more, it's bad. It's already bad news for the rest of the league. I was just watching that game last night. And I was like, if the Thunder finds a way to win this game, it's just like, when are they going to lose? Because that is a schedule loss. Like they're supposed to lose that game, and in some ways, I was happy they did because it shows that the world is not upside down. That things are still happening as they should, but to even put up that much effort and fight back in that game at Portland. I thought it was mighty impressive. I also was impressed by the young Trailblazers. Sure, they made some crazy shots, Drew Holiday, but that's a big win for a team that's trying to kind of turn the corner.
Yeah, for sure. And also there's the obvious thing that we're not mentioning, but like health is a big thing that needs to improve, obviously out of their control. But there's a chance they'll be getting some guys back this upcoming game against Sacramento, which is tomorrow at 9 p.m. Central Time. You had Chet Holmgren miss this last game due to a lower back sprain. That's something he's been dealing with throughout the season. Lou Dort also missed it due to a right upper trap strain, which he suffered against the Clippers, and then you had Alex Caruso who was resting that game. So they are supposed to get some people back. Obviously, still waiting for J Dub, for Kenrich Williams, guys like that. But this is a team that's gonna you know that should only be more dangerous once they are able to get healthy. Like I mentioned, next up for OKC is that game against Sacramento, and it's the first game of NBA Cup group play, so that is also an interesting thing. I'm interested to see the court. I feel like they've kind of like toned it down for the
Yeah.
NBA Cup courts, which I'm glad to see. I don't know how you feel about that, Joe.
It was a little much for me. Just the shoving the cup down our throat, not my favorite thing. I do think like kudos to the NBA for trying new things. It's also like covering the Thunder, hard for me personally to care too much about the cup. It's like the team just won the championship. Like, so what if they win the NBA Cup? Maybe we're already spoiled. Um, but I don't know. The cup's fine. The Thunder has probably the easiest group in the NBA. So they should come out of it.
Yeah, yeah. That, like I said, that starts tomorrow. But that's pretty much all that I got, Joe. Unless you have any parting
I
words of wisdom here.
I got a random nit to pick. Not really a nit, but
Okay.
you worried at all about Jay Will's 3-point shooting?
Yeah, that I meant. Yeah, 26.8%.
You already mentioned that.
Yeah.
Where was I?
Yeah, that's something that, like you said, Lou Dort's also in that category where you're expecting that to go up. AJ Mitchell as well, I think, is shooting 26 point something percent off the top of my head.
Do you know who has led the team in total 3-point attempts?
Attempts. Uh is it gonna be Wiggs?
It's Wicks with 60.
Yeah, I mean he had
Second
10
is
last game.
Shea with 51, and then Jay Will with 41.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Isaiah Joe is blowing them all out of the water on a per game basis. 9.8 threes per game for Isaiah Joe. Anyway, sorry to bring up something that you had already talked about, Justin. That's about all I have.
Cool. Well, if that's it, then that's pretty much all I got too as well. Appreciate you for taking the time, Joe. I know we've been kind of texting off camera the past few days that keep having to delaying this because of all the travel stuff. So I appreciate
Yeah,
you making time,
you've been
man.
on like, you know, s- 17 different planes over the last 3 days, so I'm glad you're in a hotel room. Maybe you can sleep.
I still got some stuff to work on. We got a story on Shea and DeMar DeRozan, and that's a little preview for tomorrow's game.
Nice.
Some Canada connections there, going back to DeMar's days with the Raptors. That's going to come out soon. You got anything else in the works that you wanna plug? Anything you're working on?
Oh, not really. I'm kind of dabbling in a bunch of different stuff with football season still going on, but Thunder wise, not sure. But yeah, stay tuned. We'll
Yeah,
come up with something, Justin.
we always do. But that's all that we got, guys. Appreciate you guys for listening. This has been the Thunder Buddies podcast. We'll see y'all next time.